Hello, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? It's your boy Emilio right now. Oh, I got a lot of things to explain. I'm not actually sure where to start, but I thought I'd let you know a little something. Well, first of all, I have a couple of things running and I'm updating some stuff. So if you see me at all, like fiddle around with the computer, like keyboard, mouse, don't freak out about it. I don't know why you would, but I'm just saying, just cut me some slack here because I'm just trying to fix things around my computer. But I'll try to still continue with the story that I'm about to tell you guys in a moment here. Tissue paper. I actually still want to talk about dreams. I've done it before in the past, and I want to continue doing it, especially because whenever I get one that's really good or one that stands out to me, I want to make it known. I want to remember it. You know. This dream is so intense, my nose is still bleeding, and so I have this tissue here. So if you see like blood streaming down my nose and my face, don't get grossed out, please. I wouldn't want that. I mean, if I can handle it, I'm sure you can. You guys all know that I'm not the best with blood, so especially very powerful when I have it myself. So yeah, it's being a little bit vague. I'm just still trying to kind of collect my thoughts here. I had a very wonderful dream, actually. It was probably one of the best dreams I've had in a while, you know what I mean? This dream is, I'm not sure how to say it. It's kind of revolutionary for me, Being a normal dream that's not entirely, well, it was a lucid dream, but I chose to be subconscious about it. I chose not to be as lucid in this dream. I just had awareness is what I made myself out on this. I didn't want to make all the choices. I just wanted to go with what my subconscious led me with. You understand? Maybe some of you don't. I'll give you a brief rundown. So pretty much what happens when you're a lucid dreamer is you have choices that you can make. You're almost like a designer in your own dreams. You have the final say in everything, but there are times when that can go wrong, which is what this is pretty much the essence of my being. Having PTSD and for some reason having like just terrible nightmares in general. I have what I like to call transcendental nightmares. I don't know how to describe it. It's not a pretty sight. In these dreams I feel pain, I feel agony, I feel a lot of things, a lot of emotions, the most raw, basic form, the most primal form of fear, and it just doesn't go away, and it happens. I would say I would average it out to once a month, but none more than that. I've never experienced more than one time a month. Maybe it has something to do with the moon, because the moon has the regular monthly phase. It could be a nature thing. Could be that there's something that I'm not aware of, that the human body responds to nature a certain way. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, we don't all know the answers. It may sound far-fetched, but I mean, look at how long we've come. You think someone in, like, let's say Shakespeare's time would have imagined all this possible? I mean, I'm pretty sure they'd be a little shocked. So I'm not too shocked if something like that were really the answer. But I'm not here to talk about my fears or why I have bad dreams or any of that. I actually want to record the events of this dream that I had before I forget it. Because, I mean, let's face it, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'll be even honest here. It was a 2-part dream, and I can't remember all the events of the first part, simply because I was sleeping for a while. I mean, I've been so tired and so deprived of energy, so busy. I haven't really had time for myself, really, and I'm kind of glad this dream gave me a wake-up call, and I'm happy to share it. I really am. So I have some notes here. These are not what you call too much. They're some notes. They're pretty much the most rudimentary of notes that I could have possibly taken throughout this. When I was recollecting a bit, they don't have any of the more important details. They're just more, like I said, rudimentary. And excuse the computer fan if you hear it. I mean, it's going to be pretty loud. I would say it's about evening time. Well, it's 7 actually. Huh. Hmm. But anyway, the title of this dream that I want to retell to you guys. I want to tell you guys this amazing dream, and I've decided to dub it Countrymen. It's a really strange title. Like, it's not. I don't think I've ever named anything Countrymen. I don't think I've ever named anything with country in it or men in it. Maybe men. It's possible. I had to look through my list of dreams, but never country. Never. It's very strange. I really like this dream. Like, let me get more specific. Like, I never had, and I'm not looking for any kind of pity, any kind of, like, emotional assurance for this. I'm not looking for security or anything, but I kind of just want to tell you guys. Well, you guys know I come from very poor establishments. I've always had to develop things on my own. I've had to learn values and beliefs, and everything related to school, work, everything like that I've had to do on my own. I mean, I've had my parents, but their job was simply to keep me alive, not to instruct me, and I don't blame anyone for that. And like I said, I'm not looking for any pity or any kind of guidance or none. But I just want to tell you guys why this is so important to me, because dreams have shaped me as a human being. They've taught me value. They've taught me they taught me ethics. They've taught me pretty much my entire moral code. I've seen with my eyes, I've listened with my ears. I never spoke. It's one thing I never did throughout life. I've never spoken. I never made my presence known, and I've always been in the shadows, lurking, just watching everyone and learning. And when I see them in my dreams, it is especially powerful because it accurately depicts everything that I fear, everything that I learn, everything that I see, that I hear, that I touch. It's all a part of the mind, and it always comes full circle when it comes to me. I always have that in the back of my head, and it always helps me grow. So if there's a reason why I don't like talking about myself, now. It's these things are just too powerful for me to talk about. I don't like to just think back on the things that have happened in my life, especially things that are recent, or I just don't like to talk about them. This is why I don't go into detail about who I am and how I became the way that I am. I can give you a simple answer as to what formed me, but which is what I just did. But I don't really give any specific details because it's just too personal. You understand? And some things just aren't meant to be said. I think I'll carry a lot of secrets to my grave, till the day I die. Some things that I probably would be looked at and branded a monster. Some things that just wouldn't render me a human being. And I mean, I'm not proud of it, but I don't look back. I don't dwell on mistakes. I don't think about I always do sort of think about what that could lead me in the future, or someone might find out the horror. But I'm not ever I don't ever think about, hey, someone's gonna think about me a certain way. That's never my concern. I just wish not to do any more harm. So it's a little brief overview. It's why these dreams are important to me, because they're truly my essence. It's as though, to give you a better example, it's like, imagine if you had yourself a hiking partner for 50 years, or any sort of partner that you did things together with. You went outside, you went to gatherings, you enjoy sports, anything that was extreme, or anything that you really form a bond of friendship, or even more than friendship, with a person or a thing, or not just to say a thing. Some things that are inanimate you can form a bond with. It's possible, but like a person, a thing, an animal, anything that has life, maybe you can form a bond with, and it's the equivalent of losing that. If you lose that special bond you have with that certain thing, a part of you is gone and just doesn't feel like it's around. Some people live to old age, and they only live to old age because of some things that um, have made them live so long, like a reason to live. And for me, dreams are the reasons for my living. They're also the reasons for me wanting to die some of the times. Like, not to say that I'm suicidal, that don't get that confused. There are just times I just wish I would disappear because the dreams were just that intense. And I mean, it's mainly a phase. It goes away after a week, but it's always the most depressing times when I have those transcendent nightmares. They're more than average nightmares. They're just like you feel everything. Everything is so real. Everything feels like it's hard to breathe. You're moving in syrup. You can't. It's like you have a million sweaters on, but you can't take them off, and you have to suffer in this infernal heat, and you just can't do nothing about it. It's like you have to watch yourself grow up. Like you're a, let's say you're a accomplished adult. You gotta see all your worst moments. You gotta constantly look at yourself at your lowest point over and over again in a state of fear. It's insane. But let's get to the main point. Look, I've been so stressed out. I mean, look at this. Look at this face. You see this? You see this? This, what do you call these? Like a zit or something? This is a I don't know what it is. It's a mass of blood. It's a collection of bad blood, like just building up because of my stresses recently. And luckily, this dream, Countrymen, has given me another reason to live. I just want to say, it wasn't anything transcendent. It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't anything so supreme that it's revolutionary, even though I did say it was sort of like a revolutionary thing. But it was just a dream, which is why it's so ironic and so really heartwarming, because it wasn't anything so over the top. It wasn't any of that. It was just a simple dream, and it's one that I haven't had in many years. A dream that has impacted me so much that I just haven't had a dream like that of this magnitude. Just speaks so clearly, so loudly to me, And when I finally woke up from the dream, I felt relief. Usually I feel sadness, I feel tears, for leaving the dreams that have inspired me so much, and I always feel like I need to go back to that world, for an escape. But this one, I just feel glad that I had it. It's taught me, so I just want to I want to use the tools that it taught me and put it into effect. This is gonna be like a very personal thing. Like it's hard to describe something that you felt in a dream. It's hard to describe what it means to you. It's hard to describe how you can use it. But I don't ask for, like I said, pity or anything. Maybe empathy, but what I really desire is just to retell these events. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I've kind of went on a tangent about things that probably don't matter. So here we go. This is Countrymen, as I remember it. I'm probably going to look at my notes for some of the names that I wrote down, but there are a lot of things that I don't remember. But let me run you down through let me give you a rundown through the simplest of what I can remember. So in the beginning, I was royalty. I was heir to the throne. Not entirely sure what the setting was. It was a fictitious. It was a fictional setting. And I had two older brothers who, and I've always wanted older brothers, but I had two older brothers, and they were also successors to the throne. But I had a very how do I say, very strict father. He wasn't truly a father figure. He was the embodiment of man, but he wasn't the embodiment of a father. So that man, okay, everyone went through it. Like all the brothers went through it. The first brother, sorry, the first brother who was born into the family had to go through that ritual. Second one also followed the rite, and now it was my turn to go through my ordeal. And that was the ordeal that would shape me into a man. And pretty much the basics I can give you, because this was a complicated process, but the basic thing that I can tell you about this, the whole premise of the throne and the title to the throne, was that you had to go through this sort of like a betrayal process. Like you had to go through a trial of betrayal. And it's sort of like, no, I can't really make any real comparisons, but in all honesty, this thing was very intense. Like I actually loved the dream, like in a very positive way, despite all the crap I go through in the dream, in the story. So I was stripped of the throne, stripped of everything, like meant to roam the streets, roam the forests, and comb the everything's all the environments from outside the kingdom, comparable to King Nebuchadnezzar. And I had to learn my way through there. I had to become civilized. If you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, it sort of has some similarities where I was found by a person and was introduced to a sort of like a concubine or whatever it was. Well, anyway, I was introduced to a woman that was not really much of a whore, but she was in the prostitution business. But it wasn't, that's just her title, but it wasn't who she was. I soon learned that. So little did I know at the time, this woman would become my consort, and I just pushed her aside for the most part. Understandingly so. I was very frustrated with life, having to learn things the hard way. But in the midst of it, there was a part of me that really understood and could communicate with the finer parts of nature. The trees, they spoke to me. They sung me lullabies in my sleep. The sun always woke me up with a caring and warm embrace. The birds would always greet me in the morning, would never make me feel alone. I had everything that I could possibly need, and I just didn't realize it in the dream. Of course, the lucidity of myself, I understood, these things outside the dream, but introspectively, I was sort of understanding it in the dream myself. I was just going through the rite, and I let it happen because it was something that was very necessary to see if my subconscious spoke to me directly, if it told me, hey, you understand these already. I needed to know. So I would continue, and I would become civilized after being raised for like 7 or 8 years. It was being raised by nature and understanding who everything was. There will be sounds coming out, but hopefully that won't be a problem. I mean, I don't mind sounds, but I have a lot of groups that talk, so excuse me for that. In any case, it's comparable to what Leonidas went through, the Spartan. He went through a sort of similar thing. I don't remember much of the history, but I know he went through a sort of rite where the men had to go through that at young age in order to truly become warriors. It was something like that. The civilization wasn't so very advanced. It was still quite primitive, but at the same time, there was a new technology feel to it. Like there was technology that existed in the dream that doesn't exist in this life. Things that I probably couldn't tell you about. And there were devices and just things in general. I just didn't know what they were. So that was a very nice treat. Like I'll get into more detail over that. So as I said, it's a 2-part dream. The first part was the right to manhood. It was the passageway to nirvana. It pretty much is what that was. It's like the old Buddhist, the story of Buddha, except in a different sense. You understand me? It's like I had to come to realization over many things, after I became civilized by being found in the many forests that I would comb daily, yearly, it was it was an interesting experience because I had not forgotten any of the old customs. I had not forgotten how to act, but I did forget how to control my emotions. I was a much more open person in nature. I didn't have anything to hide. I was never embarrassed of who I was. Coming to civilization, it was a different story because there's so many customs, and it's just like, why are there so many limitations on how humans should live? That's what I told myself in the dream. I was just confused over, even though I had a very rough life dueling with the tigers, who they're part of my most primal fear: of tigers, sharks, the darkness. They just dueling with those time and time again for many years, and learning how to fend for myself, how to make my own food, stuff like that, how to survive. It kind of hit me hard. It's like, why is this the way it is? Why can't people live a certain way? Like, even though we're making progress, we're not really making progress in the mind. We're kind of digressing from the main thing of what human beings should focus on, and it's their essence, who they are, and finding themselves in nature. So that was one of the themes of the whole entire dream, the whole plot, the whole story, and it was marvelous. Like, I have to say, I enjoyed every second of it, watching as a spectator in my own mind. And when I continued to become civilized again, it didn't take very long, but I was brought up as a sort of like a mercenary in a way. Like, we did hired merc jobs, and we would go outside and we would slay creatures, things that pained me greatly. And we were living in a world that was sort of, like I said, primitive, but that's a twofold street, my friends, because primitive as in the way that the world worked, and primitive as in the creatures that lived in it. For example, human beings and dinosaurs can never have coexisted, because if so, we wouldn't be here. But in Dream, such creatures did exist. Maybe not as vicious as dinosaurs, but they were a more tame version, and you wouldn't want to mess with these creatures. They were like smilodons and terror birds, just like in the movie 10,000 BC. They definitely didn't exist per se. Like, you might argue that terror birds existed in the Americas, or smilodons were part of Russia, or wherever the heck they were from. Maybe they were in Africa, maybe they weren't, but these mythological creatures, like the Loch Ness monster, Sasquatch, whatever, fairies, whatever you want to call it, they were more or less, to an extent, somewhat of a realization in this dream. Like, they had a form, they had some form of existence. Weren't exactly fairies, they weren't exactly like nymphs, or they weren't dragons. They wouldn't be exactly so I don't know how, so cliche. They wouldn't be so obvious. They were more of they just existed. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be in the dream to understand the kind of creatures they were. They were very complex, very sophisticated. They weren't. They don't rely on instincts. They're not primitive. They were very educated. They were very intelligent. They were very well mannered, composed. But we still had a division of domestication. Like, we had our humanities, and then we have our everything else. We could not really make real diplomatic cases with these creatures. They were intelligent. They were prideful. They were themselves. They couldn't really be bothered to have relations with us, our tribe, our species, humankind. And they believed that they had entitlement to the earth just like any other creature in the world did, and we didn't believe that. So naturally, where this is going, a lesson had to be learned the hard way. And the first dream focuses on a war that, it was a war that occurred between both sides, but it was more than just both sides. There were a lot of sides to this, but it was not a right versus wrong war. It never usually is. I mean, sometimes in war there's always a right, there's always a wrong. Who's fighting for that? But both sides usually, or more, multiple sides usually consider themselves to be in the right. This is why they fight. But this one, there was so much on the line that the concept of right and wrong just could never apply to this. This was a thing about this. This was a fight of the universe. It was like everything was on the line. This was for all the marbles, and it wasn't for any right or wrong, any dogma. It was just simply to see. It was everything was laid on the table, and whoever could get it first, whoever truly had the potential, whoever was meant for it would get it. That's sort of what it was. And so, Dream continued after the war, which was a bloody war. The human race had been dwindled down to its lowest possible number, and that's when the brightest of minds started appearing. Because when we were at our lowest point, we began to understand things about ourselves. We began saying, hey, let's reject this idea, let's reject these mindsets, let's start to really focus. And even though we can never have relations with these creatures, these animals, these anythings, we had to find a way to coexist with them and cope with the pain of our losses. And so that's what we did. So where do I fit in all this, and where do my brothers fit in, and where does the consort fit in? And my father, who died in the war, I guess he foresaw all this, and he knew that my two older brothers weren't the people that would rule, because they were, even though they had been going through the whole process of I don't know if I'm gonna invent a word here, but Nebuchadnezzation. Like, let's say they were outside, they were uncivilized, and then they were also civilized. Their case weren't exactly as badly as mine. Like my case, I was out for many years outside, whereas the right would only last really realistically for like about a week or maybe a month, and I was just not able to be found. That's really what it came down to. Like, I had more of a chance to acclimate myself to what nature really had to offer me, and it was over a period of like almost a decade. I almost was entirely built on nature, and my brothers weren't. They were only around for about a week outside. They couldn't handle it for the most part, but my eldest did complete it, my second did not, but he learned a lot from it, and it made him humble. And we had really good values as brethren, as siblings, as human beings. We had very good values, but none as great as mine. Like, I hate to compare. That's not what I'm about. But when we get down to it, there's an obvious fact here that cannot be overlooked, and that is, I was destined for this throne. I was meant for it. I was meant to inspire change, to be the radical thinker. I was meant to be the one to take all the pain from everyone, and just, instead of releasing pain, I'll release nothing but joy for the people and for humanity. So I had to fight for this throne. I knew it was my destiny. I knew it was calling out to me. And in my dreams, in the dream itself, I would have dreams, and many dreams that would inspire me to, or motivate me to go for this throne. And it was the throne of all thrones. It was a throne for humanity, and it was so much more than that for me. So I continued, and I met the woman again, the consort. Christina was her name, and Christina and I were very well bonded, so much so to the point where I can even compare it to my first love. Like, the relationship we had was too strong, and it's not easily discussed. I cannot explain to you how something like that could be. It's like, you have people that believe they're in love. This might be my opinion talking, but I do have the 14 years of experience with my first love before her passing, and I do understand the true concept of love, and people just don't understand it. They, especially young people. Like, I know I started young, but I would rather prefer people wait until they discover who they are themselves before they get into matters of love. This is a serious thing, you know. There are like couples that probably been married for several years, and even they don't get it right. I mean, look at the U.S.'s divorce rate. I mean, it's abysmal. It's disgraceful. So I think I know what I'm talking about when I say most people here that live in the U.S. don't know a lickety spit of love. They don't know anything about it, and it's weird because romance is a very different thing than I grew up knowing. You know, this new generation romance where, you know, I'm all for women's rights, but it's like everyone seems so prideful these days. There's no longer like a sense of man and woman. It's more of a sense of what can you get me? How much property can I steal from you via alimony? How sexual can we become? Stuff like that, and it's disgusting. I'm just gonna say that I didn't grow up that way, and I sure as hell pity anyone who did. So anyway, back to the story. Christina and I had become bonded over time, over the many years that this dream took place afterwards, after my Nebuchadnezzation, as I call it. So after I became civilized again, I was a very powerful figure. People were in the kingdom were talking about the rise of poverty, the rise of everything. I don't know. I have many titles, and I can't even remember one of them. Not even my notes. I can never remember it. These are some details that just skip over me, and then not in a prideful act, but a creature of really honorable stance had to attack, and no one. I still don't even know the reason for the attack, but it was a very noble creature. It stood at like 27, 30 feet tall. It was a very powerful creature, but it was majestic. It was honorable. And the way we would fight is that it was so honorable. Like it was a battle of wits. It was a battle of survival, and I knew all about that. I've been living just like they did. There's no one who understood those creatures better than I can tell you that. I was, how do you say, like the pioneer of truly living like the other creatures. And you might kind of guess some things that happen in the dream. You might be thinking right now, hey, well, in the end, you're just going to move to the other side and become enlightened. That's what I predict. So, I don't know. I usually like to predict things in my own head, but I tell you, just keep listening. It's not at all how you might expect. So, I go and I meet with this grand poobah like being, and we all show our respects. He sees that I have the same fire in their eyes, fire in my eyes as in their eyes, and he sort of respects me for it, but he knows that he must fight, and he would never tell me why he would fight. You know, it's more like we had to defend ourselves. It's like we had to be proven. We were the last humans. We were the last ones. We had to defend ourselves. We had to truly show that we were on the map. You know, we couldn't be eradicated. We were the only ones, and it's so sad because we were more scholarly. You know, we weren't built on military like our previous humankind existence was. This one was more of a research, it was a research-based society. It was more scholarly. It was more intellectual, and it wasn't as religious-based. We didn't pray to the gods. We were more truly in tune with society, nature, and technology. It was all sort of like a hybrid existence, and it was very nice, I have to say. It was truly one for the advancement, one for progress, you know. So I would fight with this creature, and ultimately had to be the one to end his life, or its life, and it was quite a sad thing. I probably never did recover from that in the dream because that always did touch me. I always have dreams about it. I would always think about it, and rightfully so. It was a powerful thing. It's like losing a brother. You know, I grew up there. I know what he went through. You know, it was a brotherly thing. So it was like I had to put down a brother for no reason, and it's not something that's easy to live with for the character. So that was one of the things, and like it was the main thing of the dream. It was that fight. It was the emotion that went through the character, the persona of the dream. It was a collection of so many things, and eventually this battle deemed me worthy for the throne. So I, after much anticipation, after many years, after decades of being out there, living my own way in the world, whether it be in nature or inside the civilized walls. The decades went by, and eventually I was finally able to claim the throne, and I couldn't be happier. I really could not be happier. My two brothers, one was named. See if I can find it. Oh yes, he was Caius Aurelius Caliburnus. Now you might find that name familiar. Caliburnus was the first name to Excalibur. I think it was called the Ensis Caliburnus at first, and Caius or Gaius, wherever it comes from. I think it was first called Gaius, and then Caius was derived from it. I'm not sure. I'm not really an etymology master. And Aurelius was the name of the commander of the Nova Invictus for the Emperor Rome. Actually, my title, funny enough, because these names were a theme in the entire dream, and my title for the throne was Romulus Augustulus, and it was Romulus Augustulus. What was the last one? Romulus Augustulus. Thought I would remember it. I think it was Romulus Augustulus Pentagonist or something like that. But that was just the throne's title. And my second brother, what's his name? I actually don't remember his last name. We should all have the same last names, but that's not how society worked. It was like Ambrosinus something. I don't remember his name. It pisses me off, but his middle name was Ambrosinus. I remember that. I don't remember his first name. I think it was Michelangelo Ambrosinus something, and that's how his name was. I think it was Michelangelo, but it started with an M. I know that, and I really loved my brothers so much. I loved them at birth, from the earliest times until the age of 4, where I got to know them. I loved them after I came back. They were such wonderful people. They're probably amongst the most wonderful people in the kingdom. And so, after I became, I was in the throne. I took part of it. I married who became my consort, and we didn't believe in polygamy, so I didn't have any more wives, just her. And she became the consort of the kingdom. It would be my supporting, tower, the one I could lean against. She was a much stronger woman, a much stronger person than I was. Despite all I went through, she had a certain, a womanly charm, a very, very kind of a mental fortitude. She had a fortress in her mind that just could not be penetrated, and I absolutely admired that. So she was always my support, and I loved every second of it. Very kind woman. But this is where part 1 sort of ends and where part 2 begins. It's funny because I remember distinctively I was awake, but I was not really awake. I don't know where I went. I went outside. I was walking in my sleep, but I remember walking. I was like, why am I physically walking right now? And I know I was walking. There's no way I could have imagined it. If my legs are moving, I know when they are, unless they're numb, but they weren't. So I walked for maybe, I can't really tell time like that, but I walked for a short distance, and I came back, and I went back to my bed, and that's when part 2 began. But I can't remember for life of me the transitional phase. I don't know what the heck went on in my mind when I was walking. It was my mind was racing. There was a million and one things, but I can't really remember. Anyway, this is where part 2 begins. This is the part that I remember mainly. So now new characters are introduced. It is an entirely different story. We no longer see anything that has to do with the creatures of the earth, but some creatures do still make it. You know what I mean? It's but they're not the same. They're sort of a spiritual thing. I'll get to that. So after the war, we had methods of writing where everyone would kind of know what happens weekly and stuff like that. It was really cool. It was a really cool method of writing we had. So we had all these technological advances, and it was still a primitive society, but we had everything that was so advanced that we could need things that we would need in our society and civilization today that would truly make everything magnificent, such as a way to power ourselves from the sun, a way to cool down from the moon and stuff like that. Like everything was just absolutely flawless. And the way our society worked, the way that the structures, the way the architecture was absolutely benevolent. It was a radiant sight in itself. It was just the most amazing thing. Like Solari would be impressed if he saw this today. And in any case, let me move on to the story because I tend to get sidetracked often. In this story, the main theme is friendship and betrayal. In the previous one, it wasn't. I mean, I said that, but it was more. I was referring to this one. The first one was more understanding. It was learning. That probably was the main theme. Knowing, erudition. So in this one, it was complete betrayal. It was a very gruesome dream. I'm not gonna lie. We had invented guns at some point, but we had all types of guns. We had laser guns, we had solar guns, we had like all kinds of really interesting, like I remember one that was like, I thought it was funny in the dream, but it was like a banana plasma or something like that. I can't even get into detail on how this thing worked, but that's just what it was called. And it was quite effective actually. I'm not really sure how it worked, but it was just a very powerful weapon. And so I would be in this dream, I would still be ruling, and the dream starts off with me in my throne in tears, and like my brother supporting me in the back, and I would be, I'd be like, how can she leave? Like how can they take her away from me? And like I would like scream at the gods or something, but I wasn't really screaming at the gods. I just wanted to scream at life. It's like, because apparently the love of my life had been taken away from me by devices in my own kingdom. So what that means is that the story began like that, but it retold itself, which was most unique because I've never had that happen in a dream. It retold itself in a method of flashback. It was almost like a movie itself, So we went to the past and we did a certain thing that, was a very interesting thing, because even though we have our kingdom and everything seems secure, there's so many mysteries within our own land that we don't even know. It's like we make advancements towards civilization and we make advancements towards just discoveries in general. So we were discovering our lands, we were expanding, and there was a certain ruined castle. Like it was a castle that was in ruins. There were many rooms across the walls. It looked like a necromancer's lair, and it just was very interesting. It was a very interesting castle. Everything about it just fascinated the hell out of me. The architecture itself, the blood on the walls, despite me not liking blood, sometimes I do find an interest in it, or rather a curiosity in it, to know more about it, to try and understand it more, to fear it less. And I would try to go to this blood, and I would say some things, things I didn't know, things that I believe came from the very core of my person, and I would say things, and the runes would glow, but I'm like, that's weird. It's like I know this thing, but I don't know it. So, and it wasn't me that was the only one who did that. It was sort of like a human thing. I think whoever designed this castle designed it so that the person who was there reacts to something instinctively and would be trapped. Like it was a trap, pretty much. That's the main thing of this castle, this ruined palace. It was that whoever entered could not get out, and so that's precisely what happened for the most part. It just takes place entirely in this castle and away from my kingdom, but my royal subjects were in good hands because of the magistrate that I left in charge, and I was inside this castle, and I was inside this new ruins, and I tried to learn all of the intricacies, and I was just so wildly in love with the way this castle was, and so fascinated that it cost me, without, unbeknownst to me, it cost me the lives of many precious and royal subjects that were following me. I had at least 500 men with me, uh, for the sake of excavation and discovery, of course. And we uh, we went inside, not to be in, we weren't, I wasn't a usurper, I just wanted to truly discover and claim lands. If someone else had claimed the lands, we would make relations with them. If we had found other humans anywhere, we would make relations with them. We would form bonds. We would say, hey, we need to stick together. We have uh, this great academia here. We have our societies are built on intelligentsia. We are extremely devoted to the purpose of goodwill and expanding and human development and stuff like that. And we would always talk with other civilizations. If we ever found them, we managed to find like at least one. I don't know how many it was. It was a very minuscule detail, but now that I think about it, I'm very interested in, having the dream and knowing whether or not humanity was fine. It does kind of make me curious how many we did find, but we at least found one. I can confirm that. And we did make friends with them. No violence, just nothing but peace. And anyway, we were in this castle, and it wasn't just I who looked upon the runes and touched it and chanted some magical words. Everyone, well, my two brothers, my consort, my best friend. I have a best friend now. It's a new character, and some of my royal subjects were just following us in general. It was very strange. It was like we would be divided. I never had to give the order for them to like come with me. My people. They would just follow. Some would go with me. Some would go with the other people. Like we would be distributed kind of evenly, and so we touched these things and like traps happened. Like we would fall down something, or someone would get captured and teleported somewhere. It was very strange. It was a very like arcane type of magic where we were just so surprised we had not seen this before. It was like from the old kingdom, and we didn't know about it. We were more or less the new generation that would shape the world. No old geezers that were with us who knew about the necromancies, that knew about anything. It was just simply us. We were fresh, and we were pups. We were newborns, so we had to learn this. We were all trapped. And it was interesting because somewhere along the dream, I picked up something was in my pocket. It was a cube, but it had a ball inside. The best way to describe it: imagine the Tesseract from the Avengers movie, but condensed, a lot smaller, where it could fit in your pocket. But it's funny because when it went to my pocket, it almost disappeared, and it never came back until I really needed it. It was comparable to the scene in Harry Potter. It's the only thing I could really think to compare it. But in Harry Potter, I saw it a while back. It's been like a couple of weeks, so I don't remember. But there was a treasure or something that Harry picks up in the fourth movie. Oh, the Goblet of Fire. That's what it was. Yeah. So the Goblet of Fire was just like that. It only appeared to those who really needed it, or something like that. And that's exactly how this Tesseract thing was. It was just, I'm not really sure what the purpose of it was, or at least I still kind of don't know. I know what it does, but it's like I don't really know the purpose of it. Why did I find it? Why is there an escape option sort of thing with this thing? So yeah, I would take this thing, and I never saw it again. Like I put it in my pocket, but it never came out. It didn't make his that was his debut, but it didn't make another entrance until the very end of the movie. So I noticed that I had it, and it always bothered me. But I would continue, and the castle was so magnificent and so old. It was so crumbling down, and it was the most amazing thing. And the most amazing thing, really, besides that, is that there was so much more. There was such a technological, like, I don't know. It was such an advancement from the old kingdom, and it was right in the backyard of the castle place. And we didn't know it. We couldn't understand it. It was something that appeared naked to the normal eye, but when you were inside, you saw a spectrum of colors. Like, you saw everything. You saw everything that you couldn't see. Like, everything made sense. You were there, that was there. I don't know how to describe it. You know, these things were there. This thing was designed for this. That was designed for that. This is why I'm here. Like, everything just sort of made sense. You know, everything. I don't know. It's a room of truths, a room of answers, and we were there. We somehow like met up after being trapped and escaping from our prisons or whatever. A lot of us met up. We lost some soldiers along the way. We lost plenty of soldiers that would protect the royalties. Truly wonderful. Like, I was so saddened by their death, and they would give up their lives to protect us from traps, and it was one of the most endearing things. I thought it was a beautiful thing to see, but it was so sad, you know. And we would continue. I met up with my consort. The brothers met up. My best friend was not to be. I couldn't find him, and we continued. And then all of us met together again. I didn't know what anyone was up to. The dream itself, like, I saw it because, you know, me myself, and I decided to omit anything that I saw that was a bit fishy from the main character's understanding. You know, I kind of was like, oh no, let's not think about this. Let's forget about it and let's keep watching. So we all met up in this one gigantic room where there was a ghost, sort of, or like a remnant of the master of the castle that was in a place that we couldn't reach. It was so far away from our grasp, but it felt like it wasn't. You know, it's like walking 2 steps and that would be enough to reach the destination, but you were at least 1,000 steps away. You know, it was a very strange concept in that room, but everything was so fish-eyed and weird, and well, the guy, the man, the being spoke and told us that we just wouldn't escape, and it said that it wanted company and would not let us leave, and we would die here. Not that it was evil. I understood. It wasn't evil. It was just the way that the castle was designed. This is who he was. He wanted company. He not at all tried to kill us. He just said that we were forever his royal company. So we tried to escape, of course. We were like, this guy's a lunatic, and in my head I was like, no, he's not a lunatic. It's just the way things work here. Like, we have our rules, he has his kingdom, you know. It's like, so we tried to escape, and little did we know that the more we fought, the more the castle operated perfectly, like, beautifully. It was orchestrated to feed off of negative energy. So when we all fought and like just like, yo, we can't, you know, do this, we have to do that, and we had to elect the leader. I was like, no, I'm the leader, you guys have to follow what I say. It's like, no, this thing's gonna get us killed. You know, we would all like be conflicted and we would argue against each other. The consort was the only one that was always with me, not my best friend. He would for the most part be silent, and that comes into play later, but he'd be silent, but he would like pitch in every now and again, like, maybe we should, you know. But this negative energy, like, was funny because I wasn't expecting it. But under us was a sort of like it was like a magic circle, and this whole thing was a ritual because we were in front of stained glass and light would shine where we were arguing at, and there was a magic circle, but we couldn't see it because of the light. And so really genius. But we had offered, unknown to us, a sacrifice, and you know what it is. It was the consort. It was Christina. She was sacrificed, and what that meant was that she would be like forever entombed in the catacombs of the castle, without escape, always fighting the Minotaur, always fending for her life, always like trying to stay alive, and the many horrible experimented creatures that lived down there. And it sucked, in all honesty. I was glad it wasn't me, but I didn't want this fate for her, you know. And it was funny because where we were at, there was a square that opened up, and for some reason we just never noticed. because we were so busy bickering that we just didn't see it. But the square we were in, it fell down, and we would stay a lift due to some magic, but she would fall down. She was the one who was offered. As the thing closed, it no longer became viewable, and there was now like a memento mori sort of thing, where it was a square that had a skull in it. And what I interpreted that is that this was the entrance to the catacombs, and rightfully so. Like I said, it was a memento mori, so it meant death, and I recognized that, and I was sad. I was saddened by this, that when I realized this, and instead of fighting, now we are now supporting each other and trying to find the best way to escape. I no longer became the leader because I was so distraught, and rightfully so. Like I said, we had a relationship that wasn't understood by many, and it probably, if I try to explain it to some of you guys, it would just fly over your head. And I can guarantee you that in order for you to understand, you need to have had the same experience. But I was so distraught. I tried my best, but I couldn't lead them. I had to lead that to my best friend. So my best friend would be the one who would lead, and it's funny because my brothers felt betrayed by this. They felt like, why couldn't you leave it to any of us? And I said, you guys are twins. You guys think alike. You guys this and that. But this man knows me. Like you guys are my brothers, but you know yourselves. You don't know who I am. So I said, this man knows me. He knows my being. He knows my essence. He is my shadow, and they thought I betrayed them for that. So, but we were all very sour and distant afterwards because I didn't pick the right person, and all the soldiers that were with us never had a voice afterwards. They just never talked again. They were more or less trying to just keep us alive, midst of all the bullcrap that we were just constantly discussing and trying to escape and all this. So eventually we did escape the castle. I'm not sure how we did it. That wasn't really explained, but we did escape. And I think about 2 years passed before I was always moping the kingdom. I did my best, and the kingdom was still ran pretty good. I did everything, but after that, no one really recovered. Like mentally, we were all kind of shocked. We never did anything, and I would always dream about her. I was always dreaming that we didn't have religion, but I was always dreaming that there was a voice that told me, hey, you need to go get her. You can't let this chapter of your life end this way. You have to go get her. And I was like, this voice is right. After like 2 years nearly of just skipping out on the voice, I finally need to listen to it now. And I now more than ever do I feel so like eager to do it. Like I no longer was hesitating. I was so now very eager to go and get her back and win her and rescue her from whatever like dire straits she was in. And so I went to go get her, but I told nobody. I was stopped, of course, by my siblings and my best friend. They're like, dude, you can't go there, this and that. And they just would not let me go. So I was like, you guys don't understand. I was like, no, of course we understand. We loved her more just as much as you did. I was like, no, you didn't. I would blow up, and I'd be like, you don't understand anything. Like you didn't go through what I went through. You don't have a real connection to people like I do. You're not like me. You're wonderful people, and I love you all. But you can't force your will on me. Like I have to do it my way. This is how it needs to be. Like, and I was just like, I would go, and I'd be like, you guys betrayed me. You guys, I thought you had my back. We're supposed to be tight. We're supposed to be woven. We're supposed to be wool, and you separated me. Like you turned me into many different parts, and I'll not forgive you for that. So like I felt so betrayed by my siblings and my best friend because they were more involved with the political aspects of ruling the kingdom and making sure everyone was tended to, that they just couldn't see something that was so important to me. Me, who has been so selfless for many years, for the decades, has always given everything that I could for the people. I never had once a time for myself, because the time for myself I had when I was a child, when I was growing up. And so I felt that I was okay. I didn't have to learn any more about myself. But not once did I ever did anything out of selfishness. I was always selfless. I was always helping everyone out, and not once was I rewarded for that. I never asked for anything, and it's just stupid because how can this make sense? How can someone be so selfless, like me speaking? How can someone be so selfless and so giving that the one time they ask for a favor, it's never given in return? Whatever happened to, that equal opportunity? Like you give, and it's returned to you equally. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I had a feeling karma would catch up to him soon, so I went alone. I went with my sword, I went with my bow and my arrow sets, and I went with my guns. Not these guns, but guns. Like, so I went there, and I was ready for anything. So I busted the door down, even though the door was welcoming to everyone. But that was more of a psychological response. Like, hey, I'm not gonna take your crap for a ruler of the castle. I knew he was listening in. It's like, I'm going to come back to get what is mine, what is rightfully mine. So I go there and I continue everything that I'm doing. I'm following pretty much the same things that I did before, because navigating the castle was just so impossible. And I was there for days. I think weeks went by eventually. Like, I don't even know how I lived. But there was always something that was there. I would have to feed on the flesh of the many creatures that were there, and it was aggravating because it was an ordeal in itself. It was something unlike anything I've ever done, because it went against my entire character. It went against everything that I stood for, but I had to do it to survive. And I knew that lesson from when I first began life. Survival is everything. I had to live, and I had to do anything that I could to live, and that was part of it. Even though I had to defeat the many brethren of mine that went through such sour experiments, and I had to eat them, and they gave me life in return, and I always pray for them, But eventually, I would find that the caster, whatever guy, the necromancer, would have access to the most insane thing I've ever seen. He had a dimension. He had this strange magic that could call upon creatures from other dimensions, like human beings from other times, from other, like, anything. Like, if you even thought of a character and just make that character in your own head, like 5 seconds, the guy would bring him out. He would, like, have access to all these crazy, like, World War II veterans, and like all these people would come in, these seasoned fighters, and he sent out about like 1,000 of these soldiers, and the castle was huge, but he sent 1,000 of them after me, and that was after like 3 weeks in or something. I think I had like a parchment I would write on that would keep track of time and things that I would write, but I kept it all in my bag. But the guys would like come in, and they would seriously try to slay me, and that was the purpose of my visit in this castle, was living, surviving. Everything was the same thing. It was life or death, and like I said, the undertone theme of betrayal that was there. It was like I had to live, I had to find her, and there were times that I wanted to give up. I was like, this is too much, but I'm like, I already know there's no escape from this castle. I'm not sure how we got out the first time. It was never really explained. We just kind of transitioned from one place to another after like a little like an opera curtain close or whatever. It was sort of like that. So I didn't understand how to, even in real life, like myself thinking in the dream, I was like, well, how the heck am I gonna escape from this? Let's find out, So I was trying to live for the longest time, and I did for a while. Like I lived for a long time, but things became very difficult when I started meeting these these men from different times and eras and dimensions, from dimensions across many different galaxies, from alternate universes, whatever you can imagine. He brought out, and I would go in. Well, it wasn't like no Goku or none, but it was just like regular people like me who had access to technology, like like a machine gun, let's say, like, you know, like a World War II guy, uh, or like a I don't know what they call those guns, or like or an AK or something, you know, things like that. And all I had was my sword, my bow and arrow, my guns, which I had two Berettas. I had one large like submachine gun, and I think I had a knife on me so I could just chuck it if I ever needed. Like if I was ever like in like death's throes or something, I would just like you know, just chuck it from my ankles or something at whoever's neck. So that was it. Like I felt like it was the end, you know, and I continued and I did all that I could. But eventually there was a guy who got me, who I just couldn't do anything. And just when I thought everything was over, everything was flashing before me, there, lo and behold, comes my best friend to slay the man that assaulted me and saved my life. He really did. And behind him, I just saw from the shadows came my two siblings and some of my 500 of my finest men. And so we were like, I was shocked because I thought they had given up on me. I thought that they didn't care. And here I am, like, you guys are something, you know. You guys, you know, and in order for this to work, we had to deceive you and this and that. And we thought long and hard about what you said, so we knew we weren't going to give up on you. But you know that now that we're in this together, we have to work as a team. And we're like, of course, and like, you need to lead us. You need to tell us, like, you know, your plans and this and that. So I started to lead my men again. We had a series of epic battles. Like, I'm talking about, there was a small tournament held inside of this castle where it would decide the fate of the everything. And we were like dead tired, hungry and all this, but the room that we were in, magic again, it had an effect where we could feel like we ate like tons of food and felt like we slept like long, endless hours of sleep. You know, it's like, it was strange. We felt so energized in that room. Like, the moment that you go inside, it's like you're ready for battle, and then you're instantly yourself at your best, at your prime, you know. And then these tournaments would be gathered, and we would fight, and it would be the most intense fights. Like, it would be so amazing. Like, if I could record this thing, like, if there was ever a way that in life you can, like, someone make an invention so that the brain, like, you can put something on your brain, or like something talks to your brain, and you can like show off mental images or like pictures or videos, like, you know, like, if only there was like multimedia for the brain, you know, some kind of chip you can install or some crap, you know, where you can project it to your computer or a wall, and you can just watch things that you think you've forgotten. This will be especially good for me because some things I forget in dreams that I would like to remember, and things in memory I would like to relive, you know. So that'd be really awesome if someone could ever invent that, because I need to show people this battle. These battles were, this is like masterpiece worthy. Like, these battles were so brilliantly made. Like, it almost seems like someone choreographed all this, and it was just like amazing. It was insane. These battles are amazing. That's all I have to say. And I'm not one for violence, you know what I mean? But these battles got the blood pumping, and I'm pretty sure that somewhere within me, I probably jizzed myself in my sleep after watching these amazing battles. So, excuse me. So afterwards, give me 1 second. I need to drink some water. I'm starting to get dry here. That's much better. So after a while, we met the most deadliest of foes. What was his name? Fanum. Fanum was his name. And this vicious Fanum, I don't really want to say anything, but like the man was vicious, and oh my god, it was insane. Anyway, the final battle took place in this one room that was, I guess again, unbeknownst to us, in the same room where the catacombs were at, except it was upwards towards like the behind section of it. and it was in that room, but it was connected. It was like, imagine this. This is like the catacombs. This is the wall. This is the room, and it was like in this room, and there was a way that connected downwards into the catacombs, but we didn't know that. Everything was so freaking invisible to us. It was like, what the heck? So we continued. We would fight this vicious phantom, and it was insane. Like, that was when everything was tested against us. There was this one guy who we came across along the way when we were fighting vicious phantom in there. We were on top of a blimp. It was a very windy day. Like, the winds were going like at least 200 miles per hour. Like, it was insane. Like, you could get knocked off. Anything. You had to be really strong. We were already in midair on a blimp that was on a collision course to the ground. But it was like, imagine if we're like in space, except this particular Earth we were in this dimension we were in, the sky was endless. Like, there was no end to the sky, and we were so high up that we would go down. We were tumbling on the way, and our assignment, the way we passed this challenge, was we had to defeat all the enemies before we reached downwards, or if not, the girl would die, and we would have to watch her die, and then we had to watch everyone else die, ending with me watching my own self die through a mirror. And it was weird. The guy was vicious. So it was like some Saw crap. I never seen Saw, but I imagine that'd be something there, like some really vicious stuff. So that was the main fight, like, of that entire. That was the last fight. That was like one of the last fights. So we were there. We were just like killing things, just shooting with our many ammunition. We were like run out of stuff. Like, we run out of ammunition, and would hit the people with it, and if they happen to come across the dimension with the same kind of weapon we had or something that was compatible, we would take that or take the clip or something, and we would shoot people in the head. So my job, I said, hey, you guys, we're getting ambushed a lot, so I'm gonna go check the back. You guys handle these guys, because they were much better fighters than I was. So I said, I'll handle these guys because this is easy stuff. The moment they spawn from this portal, bam, right in the head. That's all I have to do. So eventually 2 guys came out, and these 2 guys were the most insanely looking guys. There was a third one that came with was the master. I had this showdown with them. It's like the caster, the summoner, the necromancer knew that I had that plan intended, that I was going to go meet them. So he decided to propose to me a challenge. And what a challenge it was. So after I killed the main guy, like, I shoot him in the head, I bust his brains out, and then 2 guys come in. This is seriously evil and good right here. It's like these 2 men are evil and good. It's like, now that I think about it, the way I could describe it, the 2 men that were crucified near Jesus, like, that's really what I have to say. Not sure if you believe in it, but whatever, just take it as is. The one was good, one was not, so it's like one was destined for salvation, one was not, and I had to pick. That was my pick. I said, you both come with me, and me and my infinite wisdom, I knew that the one guy that was more animated, it was more like, he was more animated. I knew that guy was the evil one, and I had like foresight. Like, that was one of my abilities. I had foresight. I had like the ability to see things like a few seconds into my future. When it really threatened me the most, I had the ability to see it into the future, like things like whether or not I'd be okay, And in this particular scenario, the moment I would have turned around, I would have gotten a dagger in my back, and that would have been the enemy. So I turned around, right, and then as I do that, I quickly pick up the dagger in my shin area or whatever, and then I do a 360, and it was like so slow motion. It was awesome, and I just like, and the thing like just smacks him in the head, and the guy who was next to him, the good guy, he was just like, it was a really funny face. He just like kind of looked like, oh, he must have figured it out. And I said, you come with me. So I took the dagger back. There's no way I'm leaving it inside him. That's my dagger. It was custom made for me. So I take it back, and then I introduced everyone who I just finished doing the fighting. Well, all the soldiers, most of them were still with me. No, actually, I think I had half with me, and I introduced everyone to him, and They're like, yo, we can't trust this guy. This guy's shady. He was from the enemy camp. He was from the enemy forces, and this and that. I said, hey, I thought you guys betrayed me. You thought I betrayed you. Don't you see what's going on here? It's like, this is all a test. This is a theme. We have to know who's the true betrayer here. I was like, are we the ones who are gonna betray our own kind, or are they gonna betray us? Either way, I hate to put this, on everyone's shoulder, but this is how it has to be. Like, you guys decided I was ruler. This is how it has to be. I have to be the one to decide. Even if it puts our life at risk, there's something that has to change, because nothing is changing here. We keep defeating the enemies, but nothing's changing. There's a puzzle here, and like, I don't know if you've seen down, but we're pretty near the floor. So we just went with it, and the moment we decided to trust this guy, the whole entire thing just evaporated. Like, the entire thing was like a whole illusion. But we have this new comrade on our side, and this guy was a skilled, like, warrior. He was like a goth or something, Goths are Germanic people from back in the day. But yeah, he was like a goth, and he had the fighting prowess of like a champion, and never talked unless it was to me, and was very, very shady. He was like my best friend, except like 10 times shadier. So I trusted this man, but I kept on the back of my head. I was like, when that time comes, and I know it's coming, will he be there for me, or will he not? So I couldn't do nothing. I didn't want to be like obvious, or I didn't want to seem desperate and come out to him like, hey, be my friend, so you can, maybe we can build trust and whatever. I said, listen here, I'm not gonna try to mince any words. I'm not gonna do nothing. You decide for yourself if we're good people, if we're worth you betraying whoever you're working for us, or for me rather. So I said, you decide that on your own. You watch us. Don't stab us in the back until the time comes. And when the time comes for you to make your decision, if you've learned anything from us, if you really like us, if you really understand our values, then you make your decision. The man didn't speak. He knew what I was saying, but he acknowledged it, but he didn't say nothing. And he didn't make any mannerisms, no body language. I knew, he understood me. We may not have talked the same language, but he knew what I meant, and I knew that he understood. So the moment came, pretty soon actually. I found the Tesseract in my pocket. I had thought about it for 2 years, and I had forgotten about it. And then the moment came where I was like, I kind of figured everything out. Like, all the hairs in my body stood up when I really figured it out. I was like, this thing is the same shape. The inside there's a sphere in there. I get it now. Like, I understand what it's for. So I take my Tesseract ball cube thing. I really don't know what to call it. It didn't have a name. It was just a device. It was an artifact. So I take it, and we somehow find a way to connect ourselves from that area to the catacombs. But it was by mistake. Like, we blew a wall or something by accident, and we found the catacombs. So that was like everything was like at the very end right here. Everything was like, what's funny? Everything up to this point is all rice in action. The most important thing that would happen would follow after I insert the Tesseract thing into the Memento Mori. So I put it inside, and the thing like does this weird crap technology stuff, and then we see the outline thing again, and we're all standing on top of it. I say, yo guys, back away. You don't want to fall inside. I say, let me do this. I need to do this quest. Like, you guys need to defend my body. You need to defend my soul. You need to defend everything, because this is going to be an insane battle. I need to go in there. I know what I have to do. So I put the thing in there, and it did whatever, and it went hollow, and then I could see what was inside, and I saw her inside. And then like I screamed, and I was like Christina, and then I just like jumped in. I put my entire hand in. It felt like I was trying to throw my hand through like glue mixed with like wrapping, like heavy rubber wrapping or something. I was like, I was struggling to get my hand in there, and it was a long way down. I'm telling you, this was like a well or something, But I needed to get in. I don't care if I got hurt from the piles of bones or whatever. I just needed to get in there. But I had to be careful, because there was some like pillars of spikes from bones and stuff. I was like, oh, I better not land on that thing. So I eventually like broke through the thing, and I kind of like went through it. It felt like jello, it just bounced up after I went inside. And my body stayed at top of the thing. It's funny. I was like, with my hands crossed, like I was being like a burial or something. Like when they put people in coffins, just put them a certain way, and that's how I was on top of the thing. So ultimately, this whole thing was set up, even from 2 years ago, from the beginning when we entered. The moment that he saw me enter, he knew that I was a worthy vessel. So this whole thing was set up for him to take my soul, my body, my everything. It wasn't for Christina. It wasn't for anything. It was for me. So he wanted me. He knew that I was the next chosen one. So he said, you need to find a way to get her back. If you can get her back, you'll become the most brilliant being in existence. You will outshine even the sun. But if you don't, I will be the next one who will decide the fate of everything. And you're like, I'll be the one who would join the gods. I would become a god. I would be the one who sojourns over life and death and the earth and all this. So he wanted to become the next rising sun. So I couldn't let it happen. Mainly because that's my body. He has no business with it. You know what I mean? So I went to get her. I saw her, and we were like, we need to get out of here now. So all of a sudden, this place that was a castle, it was a real life catacombs, turned, and I've been to one myself. It's a scary thing. Trust me. I don't care how brave you think you are, and you say you're not scared or anything. There's a thing called fear, all right? And fear is something everyone's born with, and you can't get rid of fear. I'm sorry, but if you think you can, you cannot. All right. The moment, if you were by yourself in these catacombs, in the darkness, you would experience fear. Don't know to what degree, but you wouldn't be okay. There would be something that it's just something humans are born. You would experience fear. That's what I'm trying to say here. I was so afraid. I was so very afraid because I didn't know if I was gonna make it out of there and alive or with her. And this is when, if anything I'd ever learned, survival over nature and stuff, and learning how to live, learning how to fend for myself. If anything like that ever was important, it was now. So I had to find a way to make it out of there with Christina alive. And there were no mulligans, no retries. This wasn't a game. This was real life. Like, I had to do it, and I had to do it right. So it was just, it was pretty much a really crazy chess game between the druid and myself. So that's what it was. It was like all these traps, all these things that came to stop and kill us. All of a sudden, these catacombs turned into like this quadrant of space that they were like these stairs, but they weren't. They were like platform stairs that went for miles seemingly, and along the way there would be things that would come in, like they would hover. It was interesting. All these things, like you see in the stars, you see all these. Have you ever seen like a Picasso drawing or any kind of surrealist drawing rather? Like it was amazing. Like there were things there that didn't make sense, but they fit. You know what I mean? Like it just things all around. There were like orbs that were galaxies, just like circling around each other. It was amazing. Like I don't know how this thing that lived on Earth could have known such crazy things. Like this thing was like restricted knowledge, and we were all seeing it for ourselves. Like we were like, yo, what is all this? It was crazy. Like it was amazing, and we continued. We fought valiantly. We prevailed. We were bleeding. We were on the verge of death. We were at the cusp of death. We sweat, broken bones, everything. We were battered and mangled. We were like just at the lowest point, the lowest possible point. And that's when a being came before us who presented itself as God, and that was the real test. It was to see whether or not this thing was God. So for like who knows how much fucking time passed, but I was with this being for, I can't even explain to you how long. It felt like an eternity, and everything kind of went away when I talked to this thing. It was like Christina didn't matter, I didn't matter. It was just let's talk. That's what it was about. And uh, it tried to get me in a paradise in my own head. Like the the thing with this creature was that it tried to present itself as God. It tried to be mightier than God. It says, if God is this, then I am the phoenix. I am whatever. I am this is that. The funny thing is that I figured it out. I was like, this guy, he is the original form of the satanic beast. He was the original Lucifer. You know how Lucifer is perceived as a snake sometimes. This would be the equivalent of the shed skin of Lucifer. This is the original skin that it had, and that was what it was. And it tried to, because it was so mad at God, it was so pissed off. It just couldn't let go of old grudges, and it just like wanted to destroy everything. So it tried to present itself as God, but it was a majestic thing. It was large. It was grand. It was beautiful, and I have to say. But I was like, but you're evil. You're trying to kill me. Like he's trying to get me in my own paradise. He's trying to make me absorb myself. I don't know how. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But he tried to make me absorb myself by putting myself in a paradise. He would like, he would kind of like, I would be in my own head, and he would like ghostly wrap himself around me in human form. Like he would be like a male. He would be a narcissist, and I'd be. We were like both naked. I was just like naked in front of myself, like seeing what my true mind was, and it was this vast like ocean. It was one half ocean, one half desert, and there was a lonely island with a solitary tree in the ocean. And he said this is where I was supposed to stay for all of eternity, or you can stay in the desert, and you can. There was a little oasis there, small river. No, it was a pond. It wasn't a river. It just looked like a river, but it was a small pond, and there were ruins, pillars of what seemed like Hellenistic pillars, and the destructed head of a Greek statue or something. And I just picture myself, like he said, you would die here, and I would picture myself like without life, just like kind of decaying and stuff, like leaning my arm against a pillar, and I would just be decaying there. And in the watery place, I would be just lying down, and that's where I would die. That's what my destiny was according to him. I would be one of those two things. I would be there alone for all of eternity, and this is how I would end up. He said you have to choose. So I don't know how I did it, but I broke through that illusion, and I told him, I know who you are. I didn't know who he was. I even surprised me in the dream, like in my real self. I was like, who the heck is this guy? He thinks he's God. He thinks he's this. I didn't figure it out, but this is the most unprecedented thing that's ever happened to me. Myself in a dream had figured something out that I in real life had not. That's never happened to me. Myself in the dream was more wise. He knew who it was. He saw through the illusion, and I didn't command it. This was not even me. I usually direct and guide my characters, but for once he directed and guided me, and I learned from that. And it's like, this guy is this, and like I felt my body quaking like outside of my dream. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, like this is chilling. And I learned who it was, and I broke through illusion, however the heck I did it. And I noticed that after all that, the thing would it would burn and shrivel up, and it would just like go to the most lowest form that it was. I don't know what this theme of lowest form, but it was like the most base form. Like it was trying to like resurrect itself, like it was trying to reborn itself, and I didn't stop it. I don't know why. I just pitied it. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna get in the. I guess I understood. He tried so hard to be who he is, and he had to, alone in space, alone in the universe. He had to be who he is. He had to survive. He had to connive and struggle. I understood that. I had to do the same thing. So out of respect, I knew that I couldn't do anything to harm him. I was like, you try to live just as I did. So because of that, I understand you a little bit. So I let him go, and this little like bean-sized like caterpillar thing that he became, I said, you know what, you're not worth it. So I took Christina, who was for some reason like, I think she was either praying for me or keeping me alive somehow, but she was like already not dead. She was she seemed dead, but no, she was like passed out or something, and she was just comatose for a long time. And I had to carry her, and I through battles and all this, and I'm like, you expect after this grand ordeal I would be allowed to leave, you know? And nope, I just continued with the craziest of things. Still had a bruised body, I still had some broken bones, and I prevailed, and I just at one point dropped all my weapons because I couldn't go on, and then I just like continued to run. I continued to just carry her, and I remember praying for the one real time in that dream, the first real time I truly gave a prayer to God. You know, I was like, yeah, if anyone's out there listening, you know, you have to get me out of here. You've heard me in my dreams. I've heard you. Now it's time for you to respond to me. You know, like I was given an order. Like, who the heck am I? You know, but it's like I heard you. I listened to you. You called out to me, and I heard, and I responded. Now I'm calling now, and I'm hoping for a response. You know, I'm hoping for someone there to get me out. Anyone, you know, anyone who is interested in my benefit. You know, anyone out there. I would thank you all the things in the world. You know, I would give your name glorification, and this is that. And someone responded. So they got me out of there. And whoever it was, probably God or something. Yeah, but got me out of there, and I had continued to go, and I was outside where they God, I'm starting to stutter too much, but the outside where my friends were at, where my siblings were at, in front of the God, what was it? It was a room that was like the fish eye room, where it was like a cemetery place. It was weird, but the catacombs room was like not too far away, but they had moved my body or something. I don't know what it was, but like they're like, we have to get out of here now. We have to leave. And the next part I'm gonna skip, even though it was one of the most amazing things that happened. It was a dual thing. It was like a thing of duality where it was like a ritual to awaken Christina up, the consort, and I would enter her mind, and her mind was space, or like some like space with bubbles or something. It was weird. It was like this purple, dark purple region, and she was floating in like a strand of DNA or something, and she had like a strand of DNA. She had, you know, like the helix, rather, I should say. She had some like cloud stuff going through her, like for the second helix or whatever, to form a double helix, but it wasn't like a real double helix, you know. She was just like surrounded by it, and I see my data was going throughout her, like entering her and leaving her at the same time. It was so complex, I didn't understand it, but I was like, what is the human mind that all this is possible, you know? And I was really like astounded by it, and I had like called out to her many times, and like we were both naked, but like we didn't have like, you know, like nipples or genitalia, you know. We're like clean slates, like none of that mattered, like before we were born or something, you know. And I thrusted my arm through her heart, and I pulled out like some really weird string, and I took the string, I pulled her out, and I just grabbed her, and I went back the way I came, but it was blocked, so I had to go the way up where the light was at. Like instead of darkness, I had to go through the light, and then after the light, it's like all of a sudden we just came out of nowhere. We were in this watery area, all of us, even the soldiers, and waiting for us at the island was the guy who had to make the choice of betraying us or not. Excuse me. So he was there. He was with the magistrate. He was with the druid, the magus, the sorcerer. He was there with him, and he says, "Now, my puppet, make your decision." And so it was us in the water. He could just as easily have killed us with the thing he had in his hand. I forget what it was, but he could have also killed the Magus. So he had to make his choice. Um, it's funny actually. I'm not gonna say what his choice was. I know you might, if you're interested in the story, you might want to know, but I'm not gonna tell you what he chose because I can't even believe it. But his choice was definitely solid. I was astounded by it. But anyway, after his choice, the last thing in the dream was the ending of the dream. It was sort of like the epilogue thing. Um, there was a statue built of me, and a new religion founded on me where I would already spread the word of this force. And it wasn't a religion to like be a zealot like nowadays, like like Christianity started to shout it out, or any of these kind of religions. It was truly the way a religion should be, where it doesn't take up too much of your time, but it's something that is personal, and it's something that you don't have to impose on others. You don't have to impose on them, and you can just, you're all free to enjoy, relax, and sing cantors of jubilee and praise and anything. You can do anything. Sing hymns. It was truly the way a religion should be. You know what I mean? And it was like non-profit. It wasn't like the rise of Christianity where you would get excommunicated because you had all the power and you thought you can send people to heaven or not. It was not like that. It was truly a worthy religion. I don't think it was called religion in there. We had a new word for it, and I don't remember what it was. I think it had something to do with truth or something. But yeah. So anyway, that was a religion that I made that people learned. So I was nowhere to be seen afterwards. No one was actually. It was just the next ruler was my son. So it was just I had a son, and he was the next ruler. I don't know how far into the future this is because I think we're presumed dead because there's a statue of us and a grand statue of myself, and we were like heroes or something. And people sing songs of praise or like how the evil one was slayed or something like that. And it was a really, oh my god, I loved the song. I wish I could remember the way the song went, but it was amazing. It was like one of those songs that come from the heart, and I just don't remember how it went, but it was really catchy. And it was the most amazing dream. It's like we all were heroes or something, and a statue of myself. Now see, here's where the real controversy is at. Did I have this child before or after this incident? Did I have this child when I knew the consort? Like did I have this child when I got into the throne? Was it in the transition between part 1 and part 2, or was it maybe did we survive? Did the man choose to kill the Magus and let us live? And did we make it back? Did we then have a child afterwards, or did this happen before? Did the guy kill us, or what happened? I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to decide. Ultimately, I know the truth of what happened, and maybe one day I'll reveal it. But for now, I think the best way to end stories is to end it with a little mystery. That is the mark of a true. It's the mark of a true speaker, right? It's a true raconteur's mark. I think that's how everyone should end their story. A bit of mystery, a bit of thinking. So if you guys want to ask questions, you're free to ask questions. You're free to comment, do whatever you want. I'll try to do more of these if I get them. Probably not so long. This one just really spoke to me. I needed something like this after a long time of suffering alone. So I'm very glad I had this dream. It spoke volumes to me, and I'll never forget it for as long as I live. So thank you guys for listening, for watching, for being with me through this. I actually don't even know how long this has been. Maybe an hour and 40 minutes. I think that's what that says there. I think that says an hour and 40. So thank you for being with me for this time if you have watched it. There will be no pictures or none, even though pictures would be a nice way to illustrate things. I won't edit this. Although I'm not really a perfectionist, there are some things I could have said better. There's some I can cut out things that I said wrong, but that's only because I'm tired as heck. I haven't slept any, so things that I would normally not mistake, I made mistakes of. Like, it's the equivalent of saying like fish, rish, or something, and I'm like, did I really just say that? But like I said, I'm not a perfectionist. This is 100% raw, so you guys do with that as you will. That's also in part because I don't want to edit. I'm being a little lazy right now. I have a lot of work to do, so I mean, you know, I can't really be bothered to do that. But I don't want to sound like a dick, you know. So hopefully you guys understand. You know. But thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, man. That was truly spoken out of what I truly feel. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys enjoy this? I would make more of this if you guys want, depending on whether they come or not, because most of my dreams are nightmares. I have nightmares almost every night, and like I said, once a month usually, or maybe twice. Sometimes it's like once every 2 months, or sometimes it's twice in a month, but those are rare. I would have those transcendent nightmares, and they're truly transcendental. Like, I can't stand them. But for those really good dreams that I have, they always make me want to go on, make me live, and want to see life more and more until I grow old and die. So thanks for watching again for like the 5th and 6th time. Thanks, and I'll see you all in some other video or whatever it is. So thank you, peace out, and keep styling, y'all.